Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi everyone, today we'll be talking about a heavy metal musician who carried out a murder and plotted a series of arson in Norway in the 1990s. If you're interested in dark and mysterious stories, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on all notification buttons to stay updated on all of our latest videos. Don't forget to turn on the closed caption function for better viewing experience. Let's get started. On August 10, 1993, 20-year-old Vak Vikernes murdered 25-year-old Øystein Arson. Vak has stabbed Øystein 23 times in the head, neck, and back. Vak would be charged with murder, but he had already previously been charged with arson for burning down Christian churches in Norway. Vak's crimes were so violent, extreme, and filled with satanic undertones that it made front-page news in Norway. But before we get into the grisly details of the crime, we need to take a step back to learn more about the background of this case. So, in Norway in the late 80s and early 90s, there were a growing group of young boys obsessed with music. More specifically, they were obsessed with death metal music, which is an extreme form of heavy metal. If it could loosely be described, it would be where guitars were loud, drumming was fast, and featured very low, growling vocals. Overall, it was just a very harsh style of music. The genre's main topics tend to center around death, murder, and the occult. Influenced by death metal, many groups of Norwegian boys decided to form bands that expanded on the death metal sound. This new genre would go on to be called Norwegian Black Metal. This genre of music mainly dealt with topics of the occult, more specifically Satanism. During the early days of black metal, promotional photos of the bands usually showed band members with painted faces, dark corpse paint, and they usually struck poses with medieval weapons. One of the biggest bands that came out of this early 1990s black metal scene was Mayhem. And that was the band that 20-year-old Vak and the 25-year-old Øystein performed in. Mayhem was a band formed by guitarist Øystein and two other bandmates in 1984, and pretty soon they had achieved some underground success among hardcore metal fans. By 1988, things started to get dark when Mayhem engaged new vocalist Per Olin, who performed under the stage name Dead. Per suffered from depression and was obsessed with death, and would do extreme acts while performing live, including cutting himself with a razor blade and even impaling a pig's head on a stake. But these stage antics actually gave Mayhem a bigger fan following due to their notoriety. Even though he knew that Per was depressed and constantly talked about killing himself, according to reports, it was said that Øystein would encourage Per to commit suicide. Øystein had hoped that this would increase the popularity of his band. Per's time at Mayhem would all come to an end on April 8, 1991, when he committed suicide. Per shot himself in the head with a shotgun after cutting his wrists. It would be Øystein who first arrived at the scene, but shockingly, instead of calling the police, Øystein would hurry to a nearby store to purchase a camera so that he could take a photo of the gruesome scene. According to fellow musicians in the scene back then, Øystein also collected bits of Per's skull and made a necklace out of it. It was after Per's death that Vak Vikernes, the main focus of this video, joined Mayhem. Vak joined Mayhem in late 1992 as their new bassist, and by that point, Vak was already recording music under another pseudonym, Bosom. Vak was signed by Øystein's record label at the time, and that was how the pair got to know each other. So when Øystein invited Vak to join Mayhem, Vak said yes. It was during Vak's time at Mayhem that the band would go on to record their most successful album to date. It was entitled The Mysterious Dom Satanas. Now for a short background on Vak Vikernes. Vak was born on February 11, 1973, and had been interested in classical music as a child, but he soon started listening to heavy metal during his teenage years. However, Vak's personal ideology is one that is truly concerning. According to Vak himself during an interview, he said that he had a swastika flag at home, and that really shocked his father. Furthermore, Vak also believed that Christianity was a herd mentality and sought to do something about it. Because of this belief, Vak went on to commit a series of church burnings. One of the churches that he burned down would end up being on the cover of one of his albums. The album was titled Aske, or Ashes in English. According to Vak, These church burnings were his revenge for the Christian desecration of Viking graves and temples. Vag had believed that Christian imperialism destroyed the beauties of the Nordic heritage. In January of 1993, Vag made a claim to a local newspaper that he was a devil worshipper and shared many details regarding the church burnings, implicating many fellow musicians in the scene. This interview led to many fellow black metal musicians being arrested and questioned by the police, but all of them were released due to a lack of evidence. It turns out that Vag had set up the interview to scare people, promote black metal and hype up the release of his latest album. But it wouldn't be long before Vag's erratic behavior escalated to the next level. On the night of August 10, 1993, Vag and a friend drove 7 hours from Bergen to Øystein's apartment in Oslo. When Vag entered Øystein's house, there was apparently a confrontation and Vag stabbed Øystein to death. Øystein's body was found outside the apartment with 23 cut wounds, 2 to the head, 5 to the neck, 16 to the back. Vag was arrested on August 19, 1993. What ensued was a media frenzy, where the rumors and speculations started to go into overdrive. It had been speculated that the murder was the result of a power struggle or financial dispute over Vag's contractual rights. Vag claimed he killed Øystein in self-defense. Vag told the court that Øystein had planned to stun him with an electroshock weapon, tie him up, and torture him to death while filming the event. According to Vag, Øystein did so under the pretext of getting a side contract from Vag. That was the reason why Vag would go to Øystein's house. From his statement in court, Vag was paranoid about Øystein planning to murder him first. Vag gave Øystein the contract and claimed that Øystein ran to the kitchen or upstairs to get a weapon. Vag had brought along a knife, and the two got into a scuffle, eventually resulting in Øystein being stabbed 23 times and killed. Throughout the trial, Vag would claim that some of those wounds were from the broken glass they had shattered during the scuffle. In May 1994, Vag was sentenced to 21 years in prison for the murder of Øystein, the arson of 4 churches, and for possession of 150 kilograms of explosives. Even while serving time, Vag was not without his drama. On April 8, 1997, Norwegian police arrested a group of 5 neo-Nazis. According to police, the young men were plotting attacks on political and religious figures in Norway. They also had plans to break Vag out of prison. The group had with them guns and explosives. One of its members had befriended Vag in prison before escaping while on leave. What made this story even stranger than fiction is that Vag's mother, Lene, would be arrested for supplying the neo-Nazi group with 100,000 kroner, around $11,000. She confessed, but claimed she did not know they were right-wing extremists and said her son was being attacked by fellow inmates. Lene said that in late 1996, Vag broke his jaw when he got into a fight with a fellow inmate, and she was only trying to help her son with the money. However, the prison director said her claims were unfounded, and police suspected that the money came from Vag himself. On October 26, 2003, Vag went on the run after being granted a short leave. He stopped a car nearby and hijacked a family of 3 in their car at gunpoint. About 19 hours later, police finally found Vag and arrested him. The car contained, among many other things, knives, a gas mask, camouflage clothing, portable GPS navigator, a laptop, and a mobile phone. Police also found a handgun and an automatic rifle in a cabin nearby. It was believed this was where Vag was hiding at during his escape. For his actions, 13 months were added to Vag's sentence. After being denied parole 2 times, he was granted parole in March of 2009. He had then served nearly 15 years of his 21-year sentence. On May 22, 2009, he was released from prison on probation. But since his release from prison, it seems that little has changed. In 2014, Vag, who had since moved to France, was charged by French authorities with inciting racial hatred against Jewish and Muslims. This was due to postings on his blog, which included anti-Semitic remarks. Vag had claimed that he had not written the posts, although the blog attributed all posts to him. On July 8, 2014, Vag was convicted of inciting racial hatred and sentenced to 6 months of probation and a fine of €8,000. Anyway, that's it for today. Drop a comment down below on what you think of this video. If you have other stories you wish for me to cover, leave a comment and a link for me to look deeper into it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our latest videos. I'll see you in our next campfire stories. Thank you for watching.